So today is a new day, obviously, and it's a new situation because it's the first time I'm recording a podcast episode on a Sunday. So this is true. We're recording on a Sunday. And so Paula, my guest, suggested that. And I was like, oh man, why not?
So sorry.
No, it's totally fine. We just decided to go for it because, as you know, in this podcast, the idea is that anything goes. So whatever makes you more comfortable and happier, this is what I'd rather do, because I don't want you to be like on a Monday, oh man, I really didn't want to be here and now I have to. So if you want it on Sunday will be the case. So I will just give you a few minutes to introduce yourself and we'll take the conversation from here, because this is actually our first conversation ever.
And we have already been talking for like half an hour, I think.
Now we have been talking for 25 minutes. However, I have not asked many questions because I will save the questions for now. So who is Paula?
Paula is a lot of things, but
Right.
since this since this is a translation related LGBTQ language related, okay, so I will start by saying that I'm a translator, English Spanish translator, studied in Argentina, specialized in audiovisual translation and accessibility, and I don't do as many subtitles as I used to, because you got to know me because of the translation of RuPaul and Queens of the Universe and many gay shows, queer shows.
Yes, we'll get to that.
But I'm also a tattoo artist. I am a rookie guitar player. I'm a loyal, passionate friend, and I am a migrant. So take it from there.
You are originally from Argentina, and you lived in Argentina most of your life, but you now live in this Basque country. Is that true?
Yes.
Is that what I read?
Yes. Random. What life throws at you.
Yes and no. When I was in Barcelona, of course, I had a lot of Argentinian friends, because it's actually normal for you to eat the empanadas and have your Argentinian friends and, the whole thing.
Yes.
But, so I thought, when I realized that you were in Spain, I thought you were in one of those Madrid, Barcelona things, because also that's all my very specific knowledge goes in that direction. But then I was like, oh, she actually lives in the Basque Country, so that in itself.
I had to be unique.
So why, if it's not too personal, and if it is, even better.
Okay, I like you already. Yeah, you can ask.
Yeah, so why would you move? Was it recently?
It was actually almost a year ago, just almost.
Ooh, that's recent.
Yeah, so I was in Argentina for 33 years, my whole life, and I moved here a year ago, let's say, with my best friend, who's also part of the rainbow community.
Great.
And we immigrated here, and actually we didn't know where to land, and we were looking for volunteering jobs to have a smooth land, and the best opportunities were in Donosti here. So that's how we chose the destination. Then we fell in love with the place, the nature. People always say that Basque people are cold and very close. They have close squads. They are. That's true. But I love them, and they have treated me with the utmost respect. So I am all.
Of course,
Basque
I believe so.
My mate with all the Basque references.
Exactly. We'll talk about this mate too. I don't know much about it, but I know that all Argentinian people have it all the time. So what about the language? When you got there, what happened? Do you speak in full-blown Spanish? Are you learning Basque? Do they try to talk to you in Basque, or they immediately recognize you as a non-Basque speaker? What happened? Do you wear like a sticker? No Basque spoken. I don't know.
Can you believe me? Could you believe me if I said that they actually think I am Basque? But then I start talking, and they immediately know that I am Argentinian. But yeah, because of, I think, the piercings and the tattoos and the stereotypical look, and the resting beach face.
So you look like a typical Basque.
I don't have the bangs. You can Google Basque people later. I don't think so, but they have confused me with their own.
Okay, well,
So
that's fair.
no, there were no barriers. They all speak Spanish here. Donosti is like San Sebastian, you know, the film
Mhm.
festival. It's
Mhm.
very touristic. But in the towns nearby, they speak Basque
Mhm.
more. And but I have learned a few words, a few things, but since it's not in Duolingo and it's so difficult, I have tried to learn and
Must
past people,
be insane.
yeah, so interesting. But
I
um,
should invite a Basque person. So if you have a reference of someone who's interested in
totally,
languages and all of that, or works in languages or subtitling, whatever it is, doesn't have to be subtitled, then I would appreciate
yeah,
that reference because that's a really special thing. So I should
yes.
I should talk
I'm
about
gonna
that.
think about it, like
Yes.
who to invite. Yes.
Okay, thanks. So then you studied your thing, and did I see that you also studied legal translation or?
Uh, I am a sworn translator in
Mm,
Argentina at the university. The course of studies lasts 5 years.
mhm,
And then you can choose in the National University of La Plata, la UNLP, you can choose, when I graduated, you could choose three main fields:
mhm.
scientific, technical, legal, and literary translation. And
You went
your
for legal.
final, it was the easiest final project.
Not
I
so
was
sure
so
about
tired.
that.
Yeah, yeah. In that time, in that
Mm,
context, with my teachers,
okay.
I just wanted to, get the diploma. It was 5 years, and just start working in what
Mm,
I want, like focus on what I wanted, which was audiovisual translation. And you
mhm.
didn't learn that at university, so
Yeah.
it was the same for me. Um, I the most similar thing would have been literary translation, but
Mhm.
it took the longest. It was the longest project. So I got my diploma, and luckily I immediately started subtitling. And
Yeah.
that's where you also gain the experience makes you better,
Mhm.
also.
So in the beginning, what kind of shows? Because I mean, from what I've seen, you have been doing all sorts of, very maybe other things too. But what called my attention was obviously the more pop things,
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
So did you start by translating that type of material or something different, like movies or series or medical series or legal?
What didn't I translate? Damn, I worked for Discovery Channel and
Uh,
MTV and then Netflix, and well, yeah, I have done many movies like Marvel, Disney,
mhm.
and it was all mixed up. That's what kept it interesting. Like
Yeah.
one day, like during Shark Week, I was an expert of in shark topic related issues, and then the following
You
week,
mean Shark Tank, right? You mean Shark Tank?
no, literal sharks.
Oh, literal shark.
Shark Weeks
The
from
animal, the
Discovery.
animal.
Yes.
See, my head is already.
Then the next week they were like, okay, we have this new season of Property Brothers, and I am an expert designer and architect suddenly, so
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 anybody
it
who
was very
knows
cool.
me knows that I'm guilty of watching anything and everything.
All at the same
So,
time.
well, when I realized that you were doing a lot of pop shows, and of course, I came to you because I actually started to ask my community on LinkedIn if they knew someone who had been somehow involved in subtitling for one of my, I would say, not one, I would say probably what I think it's the most difficult show to subtitle on earth. This is my
Mm,
idea.
okay.
Maybe you're like, "Mm, I didn't even know
High
this."
high expectations for me now. Go on.
So I'm like obsessed with watching, like I told you, episodes from everywhere, but of course, especially the American ones. From a linguistic point of view, it's just absolutely insane to translate, I believe, any reality show because I mean, especially if they are, more Kardashian, more family, more blah, 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 because it's very unpredictable. That's also why I like that kind of stuff. So I actually, those are my studying buddies, right? That's what I do these days because I'm not living in an English speaking country anymore. So I have to keep it fresh, like I say. So that's what I do. So I'm like, I'm studying, I'm watching the Kardashians because I need to.
But you have a point there, and your English is very good, so fluent. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really what I do these days to keep it current, I think. But it's also because I enjoy the whole mechanics of that kind of pretend reality conversation. Right? Have you done Catfish, or did I see that?
Yes,
So I also
did.
love
It's the best
Catfish.
MTV show, like current, I am an old soul, a hard rock fan, and for me it's a disgrace that MTV is now all reality crap. I loved the good old times with music videos, but if we're talking about modern times, Catfish is the best thing MTV has to offer.
I feel
And yeah. And actually, I wrote an article, I think it's on LinkedIn too, about queer identities and catfish, and in the Catfish show, because I have noticed I was in charge of translating season 3 onwards.
So you have seen the evolution.
Yes, and it's so interesting because at the beginning there were not many LGBTQ plus related episodes or issues, let's say, between inverted commas. And then you started to see all these queer catfishes that catfish people because they wouldn't know how to come out, or they were scared of expressing themselves, and it's so sociologically interesting.
And I see a lot of people that actually come out as whatever they are, whatever they are, their identity in the show, actually, because it's like they need that help. And also there's also a new type of episodes, I think, where a friend can reach out to Catfish and ask for help for a certain friend, and that's usually a lot of that's at least one that I have seen recently, and they had a friend reach out to the crew in order to help this other guy. Obviously, one of the problems is that he was not out and all of that. So I guess the subject is really, really, really always, in many episodes, and probably bringing it once again to the forefront in the mainstream. So that's really relevant. So you tend to, is it your choice? Is it your preference? Is it because of your experience or your interest? Why have you done so many shows that, even if they haven't started, so focused on the LGBT community, they have evolved in such a way that they are now, encompassing the whole of the multiple faces of the community?
I made them gay. Apparently, no. They started out mainstream and then I gayified them. No, I think like it happens in many cases when you start working in a place where nobody knows you. You have to earn, that space in a way. And at the beginning, I had really crappy shows. Shows that didn't car shows.
Don't say car shows are crap. I love cars.
I love Top Gear, but I had the crappiest shows, most boring, and medical, not botched.
I watched that all. I know all of it.
Like the crappiest third version of Botch, that
not with those very well-known Beverly Hills doctors, right?
Right. So then that's how I started. Then when they got to know me and I got to learn more and I had more experience over the years, and they liked how I worked and that I worked fast, because that's a key in the audiovisual world and the deadlines. Right. They liked it. Like, for example, I would do the MTV Awards overnight. Like they would send it after they were aired in the States. So that was like midnight in Argentina, and I stayed up all night and I had to deliver it in 4 hours without a script,
Wow. Oh
And
yeah, those are not scripted, obviously, because they
yeah.
are happening.
So most people, like, that was my thing. And they liked how I worked, so they started paying attention to what I liked, and also they got to know me, and they knew that I was.
So when you say they, is it always the same company you worked for, or did you work for multiple companies? That they means the several companies that you worked for.
I started with one very popular company in Argentina that I am gonna
no, don't worry about that. No, just
like
don't have
to. You can do your research, but
yeah, don't worry about that. It's not about them, it's about you.
Oh yeah, so they is that company, or then other companies that they also got to know me, but they is.
But you work mostly for Argentinian companies.
Yes. Up until a year ago, and now I'm trying to figure it out, and that's another whole episode of emigrating.
I know. I mean, when I was in the States, that's when my subtitling career happened. Because it was very circumstantial. I was in the Hollywood area, you can say that. I mean, if you don't know LA, let's call it that.
Cool.
So I was in that area, and they wanted someone on site for a lot of the activities that didn't necessarily mean the subtitling itself. So the QC, and then one last step. I was really lucky, I guess, that I was there. So there was one last step that I would be called in all the time to do, which was to be in a pretend movie theater environment. So they had a smaller version of a movie theater in the Technicolor studios. And they would call me, and I would have my popcorn, I would have my chocolate, I would have my script in a small light, and then I was free to either watch the whole movie or just take notes, or just to stop the movie and talk about whatever I thought it was a problem. So that was a pretty good
nice job.
That was a pretty good job. And sometimes I actually had to go to studios like DreamWorks and things like that. I remember going to DreamWorks, I guess, for Shrek, for also the last QC step. So then over the years, I have been in and out of it, doing all sorts of things that might show up or not, usually not so current movies, things like that, which I enjoy. It's fun. But more recently, I came back to being interested in that side of the language work, and I finally got my hands into a bit of a reality show recently. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah, none of the ones that we have been mentioning, because it's actually brand new, so it's never been out. It's first season.
Okay, cool. I want to tell you something about reality shows. Wait, I love our synapses, like our minds are all over the place. I love it. So to finish that story, because maybe this is useful for anyone.
Yes, of course.
When they get to know you and you express what yourself with the PM, the project manager, anyone in charge of that company, you have a relation, because I tend to build relationships with people. Yeah. I don't just send the email, here's the subtitle, bye. I'm like, hi, how are you? And I send a meme. I don't care if it's not formal or whatever.
And you also need that, because it's such an intense line of work within the language, right? If you don't have close relationships, because I mean, you have to have a lot of flexibility on both sides, I believe.
Yes. So they got to know who I was, that I was bisexual, that I was an activist, that I liked this, and this, that I spoke non-binary inclusive language in Argentina with E, And that's another thing, like, how can you be a translator and you are against the Real Academia Española? Okay, well, this is why language evolves and is social construct, and so they knew every relevant thing about me, and every time they had a gay thing or an inclusive thing, like, that's how they would come to me.
Yeah,
I was a gay magnet.
That makes sense, because I mean, there's nothing better than being interested in what you're doing in such a way that you do your own research for your own personal reasons, and then you just apply it to work. That becomes like a bit of an ideal situation, right? Even if you're open to other shows, obviously, why wouldn't you but I guess that it's probably important for you as a person to also do that type of activism, right?
I would always, because then something came up in any kind of show, like a mainstream heteronormative show, and they would use a concept or a word wrongly. And I thought that it would damage the community, like it would be misleading and misinformative, and you would perpetuate like a harmful, mistranslated concept. So I would always tell the PM, then they would do whatever they wanted. Yeah. So then the editor, or like it was not up to me completely at the end. And maybe MTV didn't care. They wouldn't put the E or whatever, when it came out on TV.
But
But
they
I
were
tried to do
informed.
my best.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But they were informed, right? So
Yeah. So that's, I think that we should always pick up. And that was another thing that I think why they said, we have a new cartoon for kids from Cartoon Network, and it has a non-binary character. Paula, please, would you be interested? Yes. And I would always say yes, even if they paid little to nothing, because it was like my passion and my activism and everything. And then after 11 years of passion and activism, I got tired and I quit and I moved away. Because you give so much.
You quit is not true, because you still do the same, don't you?
True. I quit that company.
Yeah, okay, that's different.
Yeah, another thing.
Yeah, so in the midst of all that, you came across this show of my preference. This RuPaul Drag Race. Let's talk a little bit about why I think, as I told you before, that it's probably, if not the most, one of the most difficult shows to deal with from a linguistic point of view. So it's Drag Race is obviously a contest to find the supposed best drag queen in a specific country. So it started in the States and it's now franchise, as they call it. I'm using their words. In the UK, in Canada, in Australia, so the English-speaking countries. And then you already have versions in Spain. I've already watched that, all of the seasons that they have available, 3 or 4, I guess. And then they have moved on to other countries all over the world. So there's going to be a lot of people with the task to subtitle from many language pairs into many language pairs, all of this very particular way of communication, because there's a lot of words that are probably more well known in their national LGBTQ plus blah 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 communities. And my thing is, when you are translating into your language, which is not really into your language, it's into your community, your language community, right?
Yeah.
Your linguistic community, because you're translating to a country. You're not translating to people who speak X. You are translating to a country, right? And there are many views and all of that. I mean, how do you convey that message, knowing that there are things like sashay away, or shantae, you stay, like those are the two most iconic expressions that you have. One is when a drag queen has won the lip sync, thank you, lip sync, there you go, battle at the end that they always have. So the winner hears the words shantae, you stay, and the loser will hear the words sashay away. So this is like, what has to do with ballet or something? I've searched it with a friend. One of them has to do with ballet, something like that. So they do it because of the sound, because they do it because it sounds funny and it's very iconic and all of that. So not even focusing on those two particular ones because they're like insane. I'm wondering what kind of work you have to do in order to be prepared to understand that even the wording, the way that they structure the sentences, the way that they're making their jokes with so many references that are usually full-blown pop American culture or even Americana. I mean, how do you even remotely deal with that? I'm fascinated by this show for many reasons, but one of them is just that linguistically is insane. So I'm like, I need to talk to people who have been dealing with this in real life situations. So what happened?
Wow, then what? Where do I start? And you see, we are undervalued. RuPaul translators, now that I think of it.
My idea is to bring them to the mainstream so that people
Good.
understand.
How to deal, I'm gonna try to simplify. It's a very good long question.
Whatever you want.
But I'm gonna try to simplify it in my mind to enumerate many things. So first, how do we translate those difficult, very iconic, pop relevant words? First, I think that if you're gonna accept a task like this, please don't be negligent. You don't need to be gay or queer to translate a queer show, but you have to be, you can be a straight girl, whatever, but be informed. And I think there are a lot of fans of the show who have better translations than some, I don't know, cisgender dudes that have no interest whatsoever in the topic, for example. And they take it, lightly and no. And it's so important that now that I come to think about it, Pedro Pascal, Pedro Pascal. He's a meme now. He's in The Last of Us. He's like the current sugar daddy of the internet. And he's like, yeah. The world has a lot of daddy issues. He even said, slay. There's a reel of Pedro Pascal saying slay. And for me, that's just such a drag word.
Yeah.
That I believe that those words, sachet, slay, eleganza, those should
Eleganza, extravaganza.
Right, that should be kept as a borrowing. That's my opinion. Then you have, when you translate for these big companies, because RuPaul, MTV, they are not going to come to an individual freelance person. They are going to a company that has their team, their stuff. So that company has protocols and guidelines, and you cannot say certain things, and you cannot, for RuPaul, I couldn't swear a lot, for example.
Right.
So lots of things are gonna be missing, and lots of things are not gonna be funny, and I know that. Like, I do my best. There are lots of puns. It's super complicated. You can't always keep the rhythm, the sound, the cacophony.
Yeah.
You can't always do it. I mean,
you have to constantly choose between, I guess, like you say, the sound of it, the funny part of it, or the message, right?
And I prefer the message, most of the times, because activism. And I think it comes first, then the sound. But then you have songs, and that show also has musicals, and it's everything depends on context. Like, that should be written in my grave when I die. No.
Yeah, because they actually reference other episodes, other seasons, even within a song. So this is insane, because I'm sure there's not a lot of things that you can work on that have these features. Because just yesterday I was noticing, as I was watching an All Stars episode, that they were referencing certain drag queens and certain sentences from those drag queens that came along in the show in other seasons.
Yeah.
They refer to their names. And I mean, and sometimes, like, pork chop was referred a lot in this, which I'm watching now, season 3 of All Stars. And the thing is, they refer to her, but you have to kind of refer to them. Oh, this is better. But you have to kind of understand who they're talking about. And how do you even notice, sometimes, even if the context is very strong, that you're talking about one particular creature that exists, or one particular entity or person, or whatever they are, or persona, let's call it that. So it's very, very complicated. If you don't have a lot of knowledge of everything that has happened, how can you even remotely understand what they are talking about? So you told me you have translated some more recent seasons?
I mean, I was a fan before, already when they got to me. I translated season 14, and then I translated some specials and something of All Stars and Queens of the Universe. And then when they wanted to keep on sending me this, I quit. But
You're like, ah.
but I have analyzed the show before. I actually wrote a paper with a friend just for fun, not getting paid, but writing about RuPaul feminism and translation.
Oh, we need to reference that then in
That's
the YouTube channel. We should have
okay.
the link and all of that so that people can read it, because I'm going to read it. I need to read it.
I will send it to you.
Yeah.
Yes, it also talks, we wrote about how dangerous it can be to mistranslate something, like for a whole community.
Mm-hmm.
And I would binge watch RuPaul before that. So I knew that if they said choices, that was already a catchphrase from a character from previous seasons.
Yeah.
But if you are not a fan and you don't have the time, because this is another myth you have as a translator, people ask you, also, you have to see the whole season before doing one episode. Okay, I don't know if you have like Hermione's time traveling thingy, but I don't have the timing. When do you watch? Sometimes it's impossible, and you just have to do a little bit research and then start. So if they give you season 14 of RuPaul, you're not gonna watch
the whole 13 ones before.
Yeah, are you some kind of artificial intelligence and you haven't told me? I don't know. So
because if time is of the essence in all types of translation works or projects in the world, when it comes to subtitling, right, I guess it becomes a lot more insane, right? It's just that usually I sometimes I understand why. Like if you talk to me about MTV, I understand, but sometimes I wonder why it's such a standard in the subtitling industry or audiovisual materials that you have only super short limited amount of time to deal with the whole series, when the series has been recorded for only God knows how many months. And why is this always such a subject? Because it's always a problem. It's like a lot of people don't even get into subtitling, don't even experiment with it or try to work with it, because they already know, because it's known in the industry that it's going to be a rush job.
Yep. Very stressful. But I think that has to do with everything being instant and immediate now. People want to watch it now, and people the new season came out and all of the episodes come out at once now, usually. That's another thing that changed over the years. So we hire 3 translators to do it in one day, so that rhythm can go on. You can keep up that.
And rhythms. I guess that's the fact that most people, not people in the industry necessarily, because in the industry, I guess everybody can recognize where the problems are because they're a bit the same across the board. But a lot of the community of watchers wonders, oh my God, the quality, and this could have been like this, it could have been like that. But sometimes I think of myself, I'm thinking about the person who's doing it and knowing the time constraints that they have and other things. It's not only time, it's the fact that you only have those characters that you can use, and the time, the number of frames, the images that you can see per second, and all of that stuff is involved. And if you need to focus on a thing like a sachet away expression or something like that, which you cannot immediately come up with a solution, right? If you, especially the people who have to deal with it in the beginning of times, right, when they started.
Right, like, because
what happened the first time that the show came to Argentina, Portugal, it doesn't matter. They were like, oh,
yeah, right? Totally. Because now at least maybe you have a glossary that translators did. Or you can get informed, like just Google a quote, see how they translated it on Netflix, ask, like go on Reddit, go on forums. There's a RuPaul Wikipedia. Ask,
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's a Wikipedia for everything. I
know what I'm going to do with my Sunday.
You see? It was a good idea, this Sunday thing.
I know.
Chill. But I would ask one of my dearest friends, Natalia in Argentina. She said, if I am a fan, like she beats me. Like she knows everything. I don't know how she has the time to know all of this shit. She's a Gemini, so I would ask her, hey, what about this word? What do you think? Because I think this and that. And she was like, yeah, good point, but also this and that. And there's, well, just talk to
this
people.
This is the problem I have
Research.
with it. So this is what I would want to see for most shows. I say any reality shows has this type of problem. But in specific shows that are more and more present, more and more common, I think the idea would be to have people talking about it, because I don't think that, at least not from my mind, from one mind, it's really, really hard to get one good solution in such complicated, linguistically, obviously, situations, right? I don't see how one person, I can only imagine you being isolated at your house, at your desk, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't know. I have no idea. What references do I have? What can I do? I mean, this should be open to discussion in like real roundtables with all the people involved, even from many countries, because you have different views and you might help each other and all of that. And I know it's probably not a common practice.
Yeah.
I would love to see it.
I also wanted to tell you, when you said for one country, in my case, it was for the whole Latin America. So it's like Latin America.
One version for the whole.
It's a hybrid language dialect. So you cannot use the Argentinian's word, you have to use a mixture of Mexican and made up things. It's a whole different issue. For more countries, that's another challenge, because in the Argentinian gay community, queer community, we would use the borrowings. Like when I went to see the drag queens, RuPaul's drag queens that came to dance and perform in Buenos Aires, and you hear people talking, we say sachet, we say slay, and we know what we are saying because we
it's part of our terminology.
Yeah, because we have access to it, or most people in Argentina, the media and the most people that consume that kind of show know English. So there's a balance. But what do you do? I mean, if you translate, it's for people that don't know English usually. So what do you do? And I always go with borrowings, because also you're talking, the audience is so broad. It's from Mexico to Argentina.
I didn't know that. I thought it was like each their own, because I mean there are huge differences. I mean, it's huge countries. So I thought it would only translate to the Argentinian audience and not.
No. Now
that's insane.
Yeah, now that there were some shows that MTV wanted to experiment on, and they said, okay, this new reality, Paula, can you do it in Argentinian? And it was like, yes, I was born to do this, because I usually was. And I had so much fun because Argentinians, we have the best insults and we're so creative when we're mean also. But there's, in the Spanish speaking world, in audiovisual translation, you have like Spanish from Spain translations. And like here is, well, that has that has its advantages. And then you have Latin American translation,
right,
which is more Mexican.
Yes.
Yes.
I was a project manager for quite a few years, and of course, that's usually the reference. You have US Spanish, then you have Latin American Spanish. Usually we would go with Mexican, and then you have Spanish for Spain. But I'm like, I understand that you have Latin American Spanish for certain types of situations, but I am now in shock that you tell me such a show.
Yeah. Maybe for sure it's gonna have to do with money and economical reasons. Of course. Yeah, like why will we bother as a huge company to do the same thing with so many? No, it cannot be bothered. Latin America has so many countries. Let's just do one language, invent one language, and pay that translator as little as you can, so that we can go on making money. That's how I picture it in my head.
Yeah. How we picture the conversations that they have.
Now bring me my whiskey. Yeah.
So I see that you're always in search of like serving the community in a linguistic way. I love that, right?
Yeah.
So you work for a company called Rainbow Translations.
Translations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I need to get in touch with those guys to talk to them and then, just have a little conversation.
Yes, I was mentioning
Yeah, for sure.
that we're
But what
going to talk
happens
about
there?
it.
Why do you think, since you're not a part of the company, as in you didn't create it, so I ask you, as someone who obviously thinks about these things, do you feel that there is really a need for a company, in this case, that specializes in LGBT related subjects or approaches? I don't think it's a subject, right? It's more of an approach.
If there's a need for us to have LGBTQ focused
specifically companies that focus on that specific community.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if need is a word, but I think it's always useful and relevant and beneficial. Because every company should be inclusive, right? So there shouldn't be distinctions. But like, I cannot think, are there macho companies, for example? Like, why do we need to make it explicit? But sorry, you just broke my brain with the word need.
Well, take it in whatever direction you want. Let's
say we need it.
Yeah.
But I think that these kind of companies, Rainbow Translations, and I know the guy in charge, and I know that he's a good-hearted, amazing person, and that he's,
from the point of view of the client, let's look at that from that perspective, that clients would prefer to hire such a company because they feel more confident in the way that they will handle their content.
Definitely. Like, if you are a gay app, a queer site, an organization focused on this, it's gonna be, you feel more comfortable, safe maybe with your data, because we're talking about data, and that's important.
Yeah, of course.
And also you feel that they are competent enough to do a better job than other.
Yeah, because I guess the need always comes from the client, right? I can have my great intentions, but if there's no need from the client point of view, then there would be no point. I can have all my dreams of making whatever happen. But I guess, so you feel like the clients, because in terms of content that you translate, do you feel like it's very, very oriented towards the community, or is it more things that, because they want to make sure that the community is included, then they will have people who have been thinking about this or dealing with this in their real lives?
Can I say both?
Yes.
No, it's difficult because if you have a show and you don't know what it's going to be about, how it's going to develop, it's not scripted. You don't know what they're going to talk about. And nowadays there's LGBTQ plus content in lots everywhere, even in mainstream movies. Maybe pink washing, maybe intentions apart, but there's something. So that's why I believe every company would benefit from having conscious people on their teams and doing the research well. But then now, if we're talking about specifically queer companies, there are lots of specifically queer organizations and researchers and linguists and everything. So that's an easier approach. I mean, easier to find your provider, supplier, client, like
you're openly doing one type of thing and you're openly doing one type of thing, and then you match and you feel like this should be a better match for you in terms of what you're going to get as a result. I'll let you go off the hook of the whole what do you think about this, what do you think about that, and let's talk about something that I was really happy with, because I always say that my intention with the podcast is to showcase the life
Yes.
of people who work in languages. And you are not only a translator, you are a tattoo artist too.
Yes. Because we have to have a plan B.
And if I ever think about having a tattoo, a Madonna tattoo, right, that we discussed, then I'm gonna
Yes.
go all the way to Basque Country to have it done by you.
Yeah, or I'm gonna go to Portugal again.
Yes, there you go. Everybody wants to come for their vacation
See.
because you have friends in Portugal, so it's natural that you want to come. So yeah.
Beautiful.
So what's the story with being a tattoo artist in the midst of translation? How did it happen?
It happened because I've been drawing forever, like since I can recall. And my brother once said, "Hey, what about why don't you start tattooing?" And I said, "Okay, good idea." And then a week after, I went to like a seminar in Buenos Aires and to see how to get started. And I bought my machine gun and I started doing it. And I got my own mentor in La Plata, my city, and I started. And that's how I found a new passion. And I liked tattoos, and I had tattoos done, so I appreciated the art of it. And when you get into that work, you appreciate it even more, and it becomes a vicious circle. And then you say, oh, I can also earn money from this. I started tattooing friends, as everyone usually does, and myself. And now I am thinking about just pivoting to that. And I have some translation tasks here and there, but I'm thinking on focusing on tattooing and as a main thing.
So if they have ink masters to subtitle, because I watch that.
Of course you do.
I do. I sure do. When they're available, I'm watching them, sometimes even more than once. Okay. Anyway. I'm studying. I have to know.
That's it. That's a good not excuse. I'm studying. Yeah, I have to keep up.
Yes, but you don't want to watch a show with me. Come on. Ever since I was a little girl, you don't want to watch a show with me that's subtitled. No.
Why? You criticize the way it's subtitled?
No, I don't criticize it, but I talk about it the whole show. That's always been the case. Yeah, that's always been like a thing that I've always done it because it's so interesting to me. And I would record the shows when I was 13 or so, growing up as a teenager. I would record the shows that were interesting to me and just watch them over and over and over and over with the dictionary and a notebook and all that.
Such a little nerd. I love it.
Oh, that's terrible. And I mean, that was all I wanted to do because I was never artistically inclined or anything. So I don't have those. I cannot draw. I cannot paint. I cannot anything. So this has always been my thing, and it's pretty much my whole life. So if they have Ink Master episodes available, you don't mind because it's in the same field.
I would be studying.
Yeah, you see, it's exactly my case.
Yes.
So I'm not thinking about getting one, but if I ever do, I'll talk to you first. We'll have a discussion and we see what the best idea is for us. Paula, it was amazing to get to know you.
Same.
This is our first meeting.
Yeah.
Probably not the last, but definitely the first. And we had to start somewhere. And it's been amazing to hear someone who has been dealing with this linguistic situation in real life, and you have to deliver a product. So you have to do your translation, you have to do your subtitling. So it's pretty amazing. I see that you're the girl who actually works on the shows that I watch the most. So we have the same references. If we're going to have a conversation, other people might not even understand if we go full blown into our drag races and all of those things that are so nice, are like taking new ideas everywhere, and it's great to be a part of it. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to people who are involved in such a deep way, because it's very deep. People don't understand how people who don't work in language related jobs don't understand how deep language work can be, how philosophical, how cultural, and how psychological, right? Because the words need to come out of your own brain, right?
Yeah.
In the end, you're the one receiving it, and you're the one making it understandable for other people. So there's a lot of responsibility in that, and sometimes I think
and
are not aware of that.
Yeah, and also if you don't say something, that's also very meaningful, because you're invisibilizing a whole culture. So you have to be very aware of the words that you use or don't use. So yeah, that's a whole psychological panorama. So many things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. That's why I say I can only imagine someone dwelling on an expression or a word for many hours in order to make it fair for everybody involved. So so good job.
Thank you.
So I'll let you go and enjoy your mate and the rest of your Sunday.
I've been enjoying it so far, so thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This was great, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much, Paula.
Yes, have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.